Hello, welcome back to the Polis. I'm Matt. This is McKay and Chris. We just did a video uh, sorting video games into a tier list, and so now we're just going to discuss it real quick. Hopefully, it won't be as long as it took us the last time to film. So here we're going to screen share. So here it is here. You guys see that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see it.
Good.
I kind of was thinking about how we did this a little bit. There's a couple of games I might move down just a smidge. Um, and I'm gonna start with if you go up to the S tier. Um, and that is actually no. Let's go down. Go down to haven't played. And I found X-Men, Marvel's X-Men, which is kind of right smack dab, and it's kind of right there. I have played that growing up, and that is a B tier game. Um, wasn't the greatest game, but it was fun. And growing up, my buddy had a Super Nintendo, and we played it on his Super Nintendo.
All right.
Right.
Mass Effect needs the Mass Effect as a franchise. I think we need to put that as S tier.
But we're doing on games that we have played ourselves.
That we have. I have played Mass Effect.
Yeah,
They
but
have played this one.
Mass Effect Andromeda, that's the latest one.
I haven't, but I played the franchise.
Well,
Yeah, but I've heard from longtime fans of the franchise that they hate it. Many of them hated it. So, but
I would put Minecraft lower, like age. Like, hey, Minecraft.
I wouldn't put Minecraft below Fortnite. That just seems wrong because I can actually have fun playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And not only that, all my students, since I'm a teacher, they talk about Fortnite, and I'm just like, come on, there's better games than Fortnite.
Um,
And and yeah, what little fun there is in Fortnite was completely ruined by the fan base. Yeah, but that's another thing.
And not just that, the way the business model that Fortnite does is like they've been sued over many times.
Yeah. And since Fortnite started, a lot more games started doing this. I mean, I'm not blaming them for it, but live service games definitely got more popular around that time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's been, looking at a live service game right now, Halo Infinite, I would actually drop it from S tier down to maybe B tier because when it dropped, it was an unfinished game. It only dropped the multiplayer. There was no campaign. They released the campaign a month later after it released, but it still was an unfinished game that did not have Forge. It did not have, other game modes. It didn't have a theater mode. There was no co-op for campaign.
I would put it in A, just because I do really like the campaign. The game mechanics are super
Oh,
solid. It's a great shooter, so I would
it
put it in A.
it is it is a great game. Infinite is a great game. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it was unfinished when it released.
But that's like half the games on this
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. And yeah, I know we put a Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This is the new one. This is not the original. We put it in S tier. I would definitely put the original trilogy in S tier, but Call of Duty after Black Ops 2, they took like a nosedive in quality. And
I have played Modern Warfare, the 2019 Modern Warfare. The campaign was phenomenal. I
okay,
really like the campaign.
okay.
Um, and for me alone, that's why I would put it as S tier. as a franchise as a whole, it is S tier. Call of Duty redefined what a shooter was after Halo. So you
Yeah.
had it. So if you have, you kind of have Halo Combat Evolved setting the stage of what is defined as a first-person shooter, but then you have like with the joystick controls. But then Call of Duty takes it a step further and introduces weapon customization and things like that. So for me as a franchise, Call of Duty's S tier.
I would definitely put Call of Duty World at War as one of my favorite games of all time because, well, part of it is nostalgia, I admit that, but also because they didn't really shy away from showing the horrors of war because it's pretty much a horror game as well, even though there are no zombies in the main campaign. There are this was the first Call of Duty game to introduce a zombie thing, but that was much later. Campaign itself is a horror show, so really interesting.
Yeah, the original Black Ops 1 is in a way it graphically depicts the horrors of war. On this tier list, I wish there was a video game franchise that did depict the horrors of war, as well. And in my opinion, it does it a little better than Call of Duty, and that is Medal of Honor. If you played Medal of Honor Tier 1 or Medal of Honor Warfighter, it really depicts the horrors of war. But it's out on this list, and I kind of bummed me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Gears of War game is kind of like that. I think it does a really good job of really puts the gamer into that perspective of this is you fight or you die kind of game.
Yeah. Both the Last of Us games did that. They intentionally made it take a long time to like strangle your enemies from behind because that's how it would be in real life. They wanted to make you think about what you're doing. And yeah, in the second game, the enemies would even cower if you start aiming at them
Yeah.
until they get like a break and throw at you.
I want to take a minute to talk about a shooter that revolutionized the genre of first-person shooters, 007 GoldenEye.
Yeah.
The controls, yeah, they were clunky because they had to design the control scheme around the god-awful N64 controller. But when you add modern controls to it, it plays really, really well. I did the download of GoldenEye for Game Pass, and I loved it. I'm still playing through the campaign on it. It's a lot of nostalgia there, but getting back to it set the tone for first-person shooters, and picking up from there, if you look at Perfect Dark as S tier as well, Perfect Dark had the same control scheme as GoldenEye, but it introduced bots into first-person shooter and more customizable multiplayer experiences.
Yeah.
Let's look at survival horror for a second, since you kind of touched on that, Chris. Resident Evil as a franchise is S tier.
It definitely is. I was genuinely surprised Resident Evil 4 isn't there because that might be one of my favorite games of all time.
And a little quick side note, I pre-ordered the remake of Resident Evil 4.
Me too.
I'm excited for that. But Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 are really, really good. 4 was excellent. 5 was a bit of a nosedive.
Yeah.
The controls of 5 were very clunky. I did not like how you had to stop your character to shoot your weapon.
The controls for 5 for some reason they are almost identical to 4, but they feel a lot clunkier. And I don't know why. It had that weird yellow filter over the whole game, and yeah, it made the whole game look so weird.
Well, if you look at Resident Evil 5's controls, you have to stop to shoot. That was my biggest complaint. Resident Evil 6 was a step up from Resident Evil 5, but I felt it was too much kind of like they're trying to go into the direction of, this action shooter. That's third person action shooter. It did not make sense for the franchise.
Yeah, Resident Evil 6 was basically just them trying to copy what the movies were doing, but they didn't even realize that the actual fans of the games thought the movie sucked.
And then you look at Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. If Biohazard was on this list, it would be S tier. It's a first person Resident Evil game. To me, out of any games that I've had the most frightening experiences with playing, Resident Evil 7 is the top of my list.
That was the first horror game I played to the end.
And I played it to the end as well. I even played the DLCs to the end.
Yeah, me too.
And those were horrifying. And then Village came out almost 2 years ago now, and that game was horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, it was more campy action horror like Resident Evil 4, but yeah, it was awesome. And that one section in both the main game and the DLC. Yeah.
And the dollhouse, that was creepy.
Yep. Saints Row, yeah, this is Saints Row 4. Saints Row 3 and 4 are two of my two games that I love a lot, but I don't know if they really deserve to get up in S tier.
Do you want it down in A?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I were being objective, it'd probably go down B because they aren't that great games, but I love them so much. So, yeah.
I guess I put Far Cry 6 down and haven't played, but
I see a game that needs to be dropped down a level, and that is 2K21. Awesome sports franchise, but the only reason I give it a B, it is so hard to pick up that game, even to play it on rookie mode.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done the shooting mechanics of how you shoot the ball better. Another game I think needs to go down a tier. I know Nintendo fanboys are going to hate me for this, but Banjo-Kazooie is a classic. I've played it. I felt more A tier for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Same with Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong is definitely S tier. I put like Tetris down in A.
I could see Tetris being A. Tecmo Bowl, classic football. That's got to be S tier. It popularized the. Come on. Tecmo popularized the sports game genre.
I haven't played it, so I don't
know. For me, it's S tier. I played it. It was batted before batted.
Anything in A that needs to be bumped down?
There is an A that needs to be bumped up. And that is Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
I would put Jedi Fallen Order as S tier. The graphics are phenomenal. The gameplay is the control scheme's a little clunky at times. It feels a little bit grindy.
I would put it high.
I'd put it as S tier on the visuals.
I'd put it a little bit higher if it were a little bit longer.
Yeah. The only issue I have with that game is that I occasionally run into glitches where I'm like stuck in a certain area and I can't get out of it. So now I'm just stuck in that part in the game.
And I hate how even even the new game plus makes you grind for upgrades.
Yeah.
Dishonored needs to be A tier. I've played Dishonored. The campaign is really good on it, and the visuals on it are really, really good.
I think I'll put Cuphead in S. It is a good game.
Let's take a look at TIE Fighter. That was the original. That game it's a Star Wars game. However, I'd put it lower.
Mm.
It was an arcade game back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
It was very kind of like it was just a series of lines. There wasn't really any sort of kind of graphic.
I mean,
I think you're
it's supposed to
this
be.
isn't that one. This I think I'm pretty sure this is the one with this is the NES game. One the companion to X-Wing. Avengers, I suggested Avengers would be in D, not B. Oh yeah.
I think it's a fun game to go back to.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I'll put it
That's
in
fair.
Destiny 2 should be B. Let's look at those sports games. I think can stay. South Park, The Stick of Truth can stay. Primal Rage, I that was a god awful game on the Genesis. Mafia,
It is better than G. I mean, I haven't played a lot of it, but it is.
Of Mafia.
Yeah. Mafia,
Mafia should be like an E in my opinion.
graphically, it looks pretty good for its time. So
It's fair.
We could take SXX Tricky down to C tier. Fun game, but but I think it's a little overpowered in some of the tricks that you can do in the game.
I don't know. For me personally, there are a lot of games here that I would move down a lot, but that's just my opinion.
Which ones?
A lot of the ones in S, like Star Fox, uh, the football
Tectum,
there.
Tectum Bowl.
Yeah,
We could move Tectum Bowl down to A tier.
but even the ones in A, I feel like could be moved down a little bit. But a lot of these ones I haven't played myself, so I can't really say. I just feel like just by just looking at them, I feel like it's ones that I wouldn't enjoy that much.
yeah, Skyrim. I mean, it is S tier for a lot of reasons, but in my opinion, on an enjoyment factor, it's more A or B. Honestly, it's a bit too open-ended for me.
Let me look at one of them. I want to move Metroid to A tier. And I'll kind of explain why. It's a great game, it's classic Nintendo. However, my only issue was we only got Metroid on the NES and Super Nintendo. And they didn't do any new Metroid games until the GameCube. It completely skipped over the N64, and the GameCube game was awful. It skipped the Wii and Wii U, and they released a new Metroid game for the Switch. And I've heard that game is really good. But I don't like how they skip over platform generations when they're making that game. I feel like it is one of Nintendo's more kind of flagship titles that is deserving. It's not the flagship title that Mario is by any means, or Pokemon, but it's one of those flagship games that often deserves to have more recognition than it gets.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's good for me. Maybe Duck Hunt. We could move Duck Hunt down if we wanted to. Where would we put Duck Hunt?
Hmm.
I haven't played it, so I don't know.
I've played it on the original NES. Great game. The dog is kind of cheeky in the game. But it's fun to go back to. I'd put it as A tier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our part 2 of the tier list.
Right.
And let's stop sharing that. There we go. And so I'll have this one uploaded probably a day after I upload the first one. And yeah, we'll be back soon with another video.